Hello viewers, I'm here today with Mr. D. Chandrasekhar. He's the founder and MD of AlphaMERS and Beta Type Robotics. Sir, thank you for being here with us.
My pleasure.
So while researching about your work, I found out that you all are working on an ocean wave energy converter, which obviously feeds into India's drive for renewable energy. What are the kind of challenges you face in its development and deployment?
This particular stream of R&D is quite capital intensive. You take anything into the sea, you have to deploy anything, it takes good money. And before you have actually made it, people are not sure you're going to be able to make it. So the R&D money comes a little difficult. So you're on tight budgets. So we have learned to adopt a decision tree approach where we go step by step, increasing our cost invested in that. And we have tested it in an indoor wave pool. And if we get serious interest, we have successfully tested in indoor wave pool. And if we get serious interest, it can be taken to the open sea. And to make things easier, we have made a floating model of the same technology. So you can assemble it on a jetty and then tow it to the sea nearby with any boat and connect it to the anchors there.
So, Mr. Chandrasekhar, as well, I know a lot of your work is going on when it comes to hazardous oil and its cleaning, because that is a challenge for refineries.
Yes.
And we were just talking before this, you talked about the snake at an unnamed refinery, which I will not speak on camera about. But talk to us a little bit about all of that and how the Beta Type Robotics team is working to develop solutions to improve safety, efficiency when it comes to cleaning up all of these oil tanks.
You'll be surprised to know this design what I have made. The concept of this I had planned inside my head 30 years back, somewhere in mid-90s. I was sitting inside a tank, crude oil tank of a ship, with my team who was cleaning it up. I'm just shaking my head saying this is no way to clean tanks in this day and age. It is hazardous and very manual. You are using buckets and the pneumatic winches and things like that. It was not a great idea to do that. And man has already gone to the moon 30 years before that. So I said, look, if nobody does, I will do this. And the time has come 30 years later, of course. One of the public sector oil companies, Oil India Limited, they have supported me in this. And we have been able to make, we have about 4 or 5 players actually in the world today who have made this kind of robots. And this is certified to work in very, very hazardous environment where you cannot have a chance of a spark because there's a lot of fire risk out there. So we have made something certified to those standards. And we are the only company in the world out of these 4 or 5 companies which has put a pump on that robot. That's very important. You will understand if I say, have you tried to eat ice cream with a straw any time? Ice cream will not travel up the straw. The reason is because nature has provided that suction pressure is only 1 bar, that's not much. Between atmospheric pressure and vacuum, you have only 1 bar, that's very less. It cannot make thick sludge move through long pipes. So we have decided 30 years back, I had decided that I will use a pump and only use the discharge pressure of the pump to push the sludge out 30, 40, 50, 60 meters out. We had done exactly that, but still managed to make it so small that it passes under the heating coils.
Brilliant. And so one more thing I want to touch upon, since you're talking about oil refineries and all of that. Oil spills, of course, are also something that are a global concern.
Yes.
And we've seen a lot of conventional equipment work on that to try and clean up any of those spills as and when they happen. How does the equipment that you have put out there, the oil spill response equipment, differ from these conventional equipments, and what kind of applications you see in a real world basis for them?
We have made something that can be generally classified like the rest of the world. We are skimmers, integrated containment systems. But within that definition, we have technology that we have developed is different in many ways, and quite often it's superior in many ways. Like integrated containment system is something we have made where as you go along, the top layer of the oil and water keeps falling into the skimmer and it gets gravity decanted in a very short span of length, and the oil goes to the temporary storage. It's a flex bath being towed. So it is superior in many ways to what is available in the world. We also made a single point inflation boom. We call it a single point inflation boom because conventionally booms are inflated chamber by chamber. And we made something that 200 meters you inflate from one end, and within 20 minutes the entire thing inflates. And it's very useful in an emergency because time is of essence at that time and you are able to deploy it very fast. Certain other things we did before it became a regulatory requirement. Every ship has furnace oil, and that furnace oil, if it spills in the ambient temperature in the sea, it becomes thick like grease. It's called mousse.
Right.
And the regular skimmers cannot handle those mousse. So we had made a skimmer that can handle very thick oil, and only one unit because there is no takers for that. It's not mandatory equipment.
Right.
And it was lying in our warehouse. So one of the incident happened, we took this along, and this was the only skimmer working in that kind of mousse. There's a new problem that's not been appreciated much so far. Is a lot of this plastic granules are being transported by containers. And big container ships are getting ever bigger, and in case of storm, some containers sometimes falls in the water.
Yeah.
And if you have this plastic granules coming out of that and leaking out into the sea, it happened, one of the ship caught fire off Sri Lankan coast, and a lot of plastic granules coated their entire southern coast. A lot of the coast was coated by this, and we don't have equipment for that. So we're planning to make a skimmer that can handle that plastic granules, because as I see, plastic granule shipment is going to go more and more. And if we have an incident, we are standing there with nothing. It is very much, and it will affect the marine ecology, and it will affect the tourism on the beach. You have to think today to be ready for an emergency. Capacity building, all of that is required.
So we've seen a track record, sir, from you when it comes to innovation and sustainable innovation. So looking to the future, what are the kind of innovations you perhaps, I understand you can't give complete details, but maybe some innovations that excite you in the next couple of years that AlphaMERS, that Eta Tank Robotics is working on?
Let me talk about AlphaMERS. We believe very much on the renewable energy in the water. And I know we can get the juice out of it, all the renewable energy, to do a lot of our work. So now we are taking the first baby steps. Now, we have gone on to design a wave-powered boat. Let me explain to you. If you're on a roller coaster and you're going up and down, your stomach is following your body with a small phase lag. Now, if you think of this as an inner and outer hull, two hulls loosely connected, you can actually use the relative motion to pump a fluid. The relative motion between the outer and the inner hull, you use that with pumps in between, and you're pumping fluid into a bladder.
Got it.
That becomes potential energy, high pressure bladder, and then you can use for water jet propulsion. And that is very good for a small boat with offshore long cruising range, and you can put a payload of sensors over there, so you don't have to come back to the port to do crew change provisions and all that. It will hang around there. There's a lot of applications for that. We will go this year into the open sea to clean plastics. And that environment is different from river. River, you have continuous flow in one direction, whereas in the open sea, you do not have the flow of water. So if you have to sieve, I always believe in the river, do not spend a drop of fuel, because the water will bring the plastics and the trash to where you like to collect. But that kind of movement is not happening everywhere in the sea. So we have 2-3 different techniques which we are banking on. One is use of the wind energy. The good old sails can give you a relative motion through the water. You can see the wave energy, the technology that we have already developed. We will use that to move the sieve through the water. All you need is relative motion of the sieve through the water. Or where there is a current available, we will be doing deep sea anchoring there. So there the sieve is stationary and the water is moving. So with these techniques, we plan to have a very low carbon footprint model for the world to see and learn.
Brilliant. And so on a slightly more personal note, as we look to wind up this conversation, what are the big learnings you've had from your stint as a former merchant navy captain, now at the helm of organizations as an entrepreneur? What are your big learnings from this entire journey of yours?
Very early in my career, I observed that people have done better in infrastructure, sustainability around the world when you go. There are a lot of countries who have done very well. But you also realize it's those very same people who have done that. Nobody comes from outside to help you do all that. And when you look a little bit more carefully, they are not necessarily more intelligent than you. Human intelligence is very equitably distributed in the world, better than oil and mineral, and we have our fair share. So we are capable of doing that. That I believe. And so many of these things which I have done, I thought about at that time where I can do my bit. I said, I am good at 3D imagination inside the head. So let me use that to design things which will be scalable, practical, efficient. And that's what we have been doing. In terms of innovation, let me tell you my view is that you imagine yourself to be on the zero of an x-axis. On the minus side is all your school, college learning, the podcast you have seen, magazines, everything, all that. On the plus side, you think about it as your uninhibited imagination. If you take a seasoned, experienced technocrat, he has got a lot of knowledge, what he has learned over the years and what he has learned. But he has stopped going into the realm of imagination a long time ago. So he cannot innovate.
Yeah.
You take a small kid who is always imagining, but he doesn't know whether it's practical or not. He has got no experience. So after 35 years of cross-industry experience, I keep still switching the hat between both sides. Think without inhibition, think crazy. Think like I have got a hand of a giant and how I'm going to do this particular problem. Then come back to the practical side, your knowledge side, to see whether I can make a robot that can do that. And I have done that over and over again. Whenever I come to a dark corner, I think how a human hand would have done this. We did an exercise in my office with our team. And we said, if a baby has fallen into an abandoned borewell, which happens, can we make a robot that can rescue that baby? How to do that? And the thought that came to me is that Incredibles, that cartoon movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm that lady over there whose hand extends a lot. We said, okay, let's imagination, the hand extends down below. And you touch the hair of the baby, the texture tells you you have touched the head, the hair. And then you feel the face and you can make out. And then you go under the baby and try to lift up the baby carefully. That's the concept that you're imagining. And then you learn to appreciate how much of sensory perception we have on the tips of our fingers and goes to the brain, and the orders that go back up and down. To make a robot of that level will take some time. You are basically letting your mind imagine something out of the box, and one of those crazy ideas is a brilliant idea that you can adopt.
A lot of the inspiration seems to come from nature, sir, it would seem.
It is, absolutely. Nature is the most beautifully designed. Human mind is the best design software. It is not the computers. It's a human mind that can, let me tell you, it's an unpopular opinion, but innovation is a single man sport. It's not a team event.
Right.
Why I say that is, whenever you think of a small design iteration, you're thinking of a problem and the design iteration, one after the other comes to your mind, and everything has a butterfly effect on the production timelines, on the risks of the product, the features, reliability, and a whole lot of things. So they are all like moving vectors inside your mind as you consider each design change. You cannot transpose this from one mind to the other in its entirety. They will never be on the same page as you, because you have only spoken words and a two-dimensional screen to convey your thoughts. One day maybe we will have a Bluetooth connection between the two minds, and then we can be on the same page. Until then, one mind has to do all that.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with us today, sir. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
My pleasure too. Thank you.